Hello YouTube. I'm making this video on what I think about the state of the world. I am not the president, and I am not a popular public figure. And why do I think that things are so confusing, especially for younger people these days? This is just my opinion after going through a lot of different things in my life and understanding the psychology of the game of life. I think at this age I'm calling it just a game, because the reality is life really is a game. It's not anything more than a game, and it really has nothing to do with working hard. Working smart is always, in hindsight, I believe when smart is way better than working hard. I say that because I was when I was in my mid-30s, I worked as a laborer, and when I worked as a laborer, I worked very hard. Like I would pick up trash all day long, and I worked really hard. I mean, I don't really know any other way to put it. There was no real big thought process of it. It was basically just go out there and start picking up garbage on a job site, which I did, and I took pride in it. But I realize now that it kind of set me up for failure. And let me explain that. And even now, even though I mean, I have what I have, and I'm very fortunate about it to have what I have. But I was brought up with this idea that you work until you drop. So you just keep going and going and going. And it was always do what the man says. Always do what the man says. Don't do what you think is right. Just do what the man says. I learned that attitude in the Marines, and then I also learned it as an electrician when I was going through my electrical apprentice. I learned that don't do what you think is right to do. Just do what they tell you. And I did that, and I got along fine with it, and it worked for me. But in hindsight, I realized that, especially now that I'm retired, it set me up for a lot of anxiety. Because my mind is always like, work harder. Don't work smarter. Don't work harder. Good case in point was, I was in the Camp Lejeune. I was at Camp Lejeune during the water contamination back in 1984. I was in Camp Lejeune in 83 to 84. And back then we had the Beirut bombing that went on. And I wasn't in Beirut, but I was at Lejeune, where all the Marines had been shipped out of to go to Beirut. And in the Marine Corps, we are always taught to do what we were told. We were told that, it's that old thing of keep your nose clean and do what you're told. So when I got older, when I got out on my own, I didn't really have anybody to tell me what to do. So I didn't really know what to do. I was basically a take orders type of person. And but I didn't like taking orders. I didn't like people telling me what to do. I didn't like people telling me, go do this, or if you don't do this, I'm going to write you up. If you don't do this, you might get fired. So-and-so, why is so-and-so doing so good? And you seem to have a problem. You seem to have a problem. You seem to not be getting it. That kind of stuff. And I came across that a lot of times in my working career, where people would come up and say, hey, you seem to you're just not really getting it. I don't know what it is, but it's just not clicking with you. So I think we're going to have to let you go. I heard that quite a few times. I did have some success in life. But one of the things I realized last year was I went in for an exam, and the exam was a medical and psychological exam, basically on finding out if I had some impairments from being in the Marines. And they found that indeed I did. I had some hearing loss. And then I had some, I've always had some cognitive issues. So the cognitive issues, I think, stem from childhood of dealing with the whole do as I say, not as I do. So I grew up somewhat confused, like, well, then, if you're telling me what to do, then how am I supposed to be a person that thinks on my own? And now as I look back, when I did go in for that exam, they told me that yes, indeed, you did suffer some hearing loss, and you were exposed to some contaminated, contaminations at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, back in the 80s. And so, when I went to this exam, it was very nice, nice little room. You go into the room and you talk to the doctor, psychologist, whatever. And I realized that when I left, I was like, there's a person that did this exam on me and they're not working hard. And that was when I realized that it's all about the power of the pen. You know what I'm saying? So working hard will get you so far. Working smart will get you everywhere. And that's why a lot of people, like a lot of men, I believe, especially people that were like in the trades or some trades are always a good thing to have in your back pocket, I guess, to know some kind of a trade. I still know electrical stuff, but I don't really like to mess with it because once you've been out of practice, and especially as an electrician, once you've been out of practice for a while, it's kind of best to just sort of let it go. So I let that go. But what I did learn is that working hard is really not a key to success. The people that seem to really get it are the people that work in office buildings, and then they just kind of call the shots. Good case in point would be like a dentist office. You have people that work at the dentist office. It's kind of a quiet environment. And then you have the dentist in the back room that magically appears and says, "Hey, how's it going?" And then they shake your hand. They bring you back. They clean your teeth. They smile at you. And they charge you $2,000. So that is a good example of working smarter, not harder. And I understand how a lot of younger people are faced in a world where it's like, what the heck am I going to do with my life? Where do I go? Where do I start? And for me, it started in the Marines. But it also started a lifelong journey of working hard and not smart. If I could go back at this point in life, I wish my dad hadn't offed himself. Then I might have had an opportunity to go to college. Possibly. I don't know. But I never got that opportunity. And I had a lifetime of a lot of hard knocks, a lot of tough times, and some psychological issues from dealing with hard times, like eating out of dumpsters, going to the park, being alone a lot, and being alone with my own thoughts about why is life so weird for me. And now I realize it's because some of us are really lost in our own heads, and we think that, the way we're doing things is just wrong. But the reality is it's not really wrong, because as my parents did teach me one thing was if you're not doing anything wrong, if you're not lying, you're not cheating, you're not stealing, then you're doing something right. But at the same time, you have to have something going on. Everybody always thinks, so what do you do, or what do you got going on? The reality with me now is I really just do whatever I want to do. I don't really have to answer to anybody, or I have no schedule. And I can do what I want to do whenever I want to do it. If I want to go fishing, I go fishing. if I want to go drive across the country, I can go drive across the country right now if I wanted. But those are not really things. Those are things I've done in the past. I tend to look at things like that as being somewhat compulsive at this point in life. I did drive across country in a Camaro in my midlife at 40, and that was kind of exciting. But along with that excitement, that adrenaline rush, also came with a lot of bad habits: smoking, drinking, going to bars, going to clubs, doing karaoke nights. And that kind of took me down some bad paths just because, well, it's just not really good for you. And that's the thing, is that the people that work hard, the people that take orders from other people, are usually like the types that end up going to bars, drinking. You see you walking, I've been to many bars where you'd walk in there and it's just like this big plume of smoke, and people are sitting at the bar like this, you know, and just, you know, living their life. But at the same time, you could tell that each and every one of them was not like that person that did my exam. That was an educated person that was actually a psychologist, that understood the different, you know, types of situations that people go through, especially in the service. So, but I think the service is one of the reasons why a lot of us veterans are the way we are, and a lot of us come from poor backgrounds. A lot of us go through some mental struggles, and a lot of us had jobs that did not pay very well and really worked us to the bone. That's just my thoughts on that stuff. So if I could give any advice to like somebody who was younger, I'm not saying that don't go follow in my footsteps and like don't join the Marines. I think the Marines was a good option at the time for me. It kept me out of trouble. It gave me a pathway. It gave me a career. It gave me, you know, money, stability. Or as an electrician. I mean, electrician is a very lucrative job. I made really good money as an electrician. I worked really hard at it. I mean, it was a tough job. A lot of times you're out in the dirt all day, or other times you're underneath a building on your back. Other times you're pulling wire. Other times you're digging a ditch. Other times you're setting panels. It was just a number of different things you do. But at my age, being retired, I think in life there's two different paths you can take. You can take the path of resistance, or you can take the path of least resistance. And the least resistant path would to not be a yes person, not to be the person that takes orders from others, but yet be the person that has an education, learns, and then can apply it into a profession that doesn't take all your energy away. Yeah. Those are my thoughts for the day. Have a good one.